This is the new Nikon Z50II. It's the newest addition in the line of Nikon Z series cameras, and it's the second generation of the Z50. And that means the sensor is smaller than what you'll find in the Z6 III or the Z8, but it's still packed with a lot of those professional level features, and that's all thanks to the new X-Speed 7 processor. When it comes to the outside and the exterior design of the Z52, a lot of the design has been borrowed from existing cameras, the Z6 III, the Z8. You'll find that a lot of the button placement fits in really nicely with those existing cameras. So if you are someone that already has a Nikon Z series camera, the Z52 will fit really nicely into those range of cameras, making sure that you know exactly where every button is. There's a newly designed grip, which means that ergonomically it's still really nice and easy to handle, even when using it with larger lenses. And also when it comes to new buttons, there's a couple of new features that we'll talk about in a bit more detail as to what those buttons can be used for, like this one on the top of the camera that can allow you to quickly change between your picture control settings. You'll also see that the design of the Z52, especially around the EVF, is more reminiscent of the Z6 III and the Z8. So it again just adds the camera into the line of newer cameras of the Z series. One major change that you'll find on the outside of the camera compared to the original Z50 is what happens with the screen. So the screen on the back of the Z52 is now a full flip-out articulating screen, which can be incredibly useful if you want to shoot above a crowd, or if you want to shoot nice and low, or if you want to use it to record yourself. You'll also find a new red record light on the left-hand side of the camera, so to let you know when you're recording video. And the Z52 also then has built-in USB-C, really useful if you want to power the camera continuously or just charge the camera from a USB-C cable. Despite the DX size sensor in this camera being slightly smaller than full frame, it's still considerably larger than the sensor that you would get in, say, a mobile phone. It can be up to 13 times larger than a traditional mobile phone sensor, and it's 3 times larger than a 1-inch size sensor. One specific new addition to the Nikon Z52 is the addition of a picture control button. Now, picture controls have been something that have been an option in Nikon cameras for a long period of time, but the Z52 is giving you a dedicated button to change your picture control and see the effect of each picture control live in front of you on the back of the camera. You'll find the traditional standard picture controls, and you'll also then find 20 creative controls as well. These are the same that you'll find across other Nikon Z series cameras. But like the Nikon Z6 III, the Z52 also gives you access to Nikon Cloud. Nikon Cloud allows you to store your images, but more importantly allows you to download creative picture controls from other photographers. These downloaded picture controls will be stored in a section in your camera's menu called Cloud Picture Controls. The Nikon Imaging Cloud not only allows you to download those cloud creative picture controls, but also allows you to store your images for 30 days for free. Those images can then automatically be forwarded on to other cloud services that can be stored permanently. It can look after JPEGs or RAW files, and it's just a really great way of backing up your card when you're out and about, as long as you can connect your Z52 to Wi-Fi. Being able to quickly change through your picture controls, whether it's for stills or for video, can really allow you to creatively adjust and control what your images and video look like. Whether you want more of a contrasty scene, whether you want more of a flat scene, or if you want to shoot video in black and white in camera, there's a picture control to help you do that. These picture controls will directly apply to your video straight out of camera without you needing to do any post-processing or color grading. One of the really impressive changes to the Z52 is the addition of new autofocusing options. Thanks to the new X-Speed 7 processor in the Z52, which is the same processor used in the Z8, the Z9 and the Z6 III, the X-Speed 7 processor really bumps the autofocus in performance, but also gives you lots more choice. There's new autofocusing areas and there's new subject detection options as well. You now have the addition of 3D autofocus tracking, which allows you to track and follow a subject in 3D space. And when it comes to new subject detection options, we have the addition of animals and the addition of birds. So you can use the Z52 to specifically track a wider variety of animals and specifically birds in flight. You'll also find the option to track vehicles, aeroplanes, and people. For those of you that like the idea of focusing on an eye or tracking a face and tracking an eye around a scene, the Z52's autofocusing system will let you do that. For those of you that want to create your own autofocusing area, the Z52 also borrows custom area C1 and C2. This C1 and C2 area allow you to create your own size and shape. So if there's a specific portion of your frame that you want to focus on specifically, or there might be a portion of the frame that you don't want the camera to focus on specifically, you can create your own size and shape and position that accordingly in the frame, and the camera will only focus in that box. If you want to make use of your Z52 in manual focus or with manual focus lenses, it doesn't mean that you have to give up subject detection. You can still make use of subject detection when in manual focus. So it can still look for an eye, or it can still find a bird or an animal, and it will allow you to see if that subject is specifically in focus even when you're manually focusing. Think of it like a manual focus assist. So you always know if the eye is in focus or if your subject is in focus, even when you're using a manual focusing lens. When it comes to customizing and making sure the auto-focusing system looks and works the way that you want it to, there's quite a few options that you'll find in the Z52 that are new to this range of camera. First of all, you'll see a couple of options for customizing the look of your focusing system, which include your autofocus border width, which allows you to make the border of your focusing point thicker, making it easier to see or easier to find. Second, you'll also then have an option for AFC in focus display. This is a vital setting for me, and I changed this in pretty much all of my Z series cameras that have it. This simple setting, when turned on, makes sure that you can see when your camera is in focus or not in AFC. So when your camera is continuously focusing, the box will go green when it's in focus, or it will go red when it's not in focus and not following a subject. You'll also then have the ability to customize your buttons and allowing you to access auto-focusing areas more quickly. Whether you want to add a specific focusing area to a button, so adding an AF area to function 1, for example, or one of my favorite options to put on a function button is Cycle AF Area. Cycle AF Area is something that has been added to the Nikon Z8, and this allows you to quickly switch between your favorite auto-focusing area options, meaning that you can skip the auto-focusing areas that you don't use, maybe something like dynamic small, medium, or large. When using the Z52 for video, it's also really important to remember that you have full control over your camera's focusing speed and tracking sensitivity. You can make the Z52 focus considerably faster or slower during video, making it more responsive to tracking and following a wildlife subject, or you might want to slow your focusing speed down to make it more cinematic and create more of a creative focus pull. Thanks to the new auto-focusing areas, subject detection and customization options, the Z52 has an incredibly improved auto-focusing system, very similar to the system you'll find in the Z6 III or the Nikon Z8. Another new feature to the Z52 is pre-release capture. Pre-release capture has been available in other Z series cameras before, but this is the first time it's come to this range of cameras. So pre-release capture allows you to take pictures before you even started taking pictures. The pre-release capture idea is that when you half press the shutter button or when you activate your auto-focusing system, the camera will start taking images at that point, and it runs almost like a rolling buffer of images. It will not store those images until you fully press the shutter button. Once you fully press the shutter button, it can then store up to a second's worth of images before you press the shutter button. Pre-release capture can be used at either 15 frames per second or 30 frames per second. And because it allows you to capture 1 second's worth of images before you press the shutter button, it'll either give you 15 or 30 frames of the action. Do keep in mind whether it's 15 or 30 frames per second, the camera will be set to JPEG only. So if you're sat waiting for something to happen, waiting for that particular event to occur, maybe a bird coming in to land on a perch or a subject moving off from a frame, pre-release capture can give you the safety of knowing that you've captured the moment, even if you press the shutter button a little too late. Not only has the Z52 been given lots of new additions from a photography side, it's also been given lots of new additions when it comes to video. The video performance of the Z52 is absolutely fantastic and includes a lot of features that we've never seen at this level of camera. It borrows features we've seen from the Z8 and also from the Nikon Z6 III. So when it comes to those video specifications, the Z52 can shoot at up to 4K at 60 frames per second. It can also shoot 4K 30 frames per second, which will be super sampled from 5.6K to give you a sharper, cleaner image. And you can also record those resolutions and frame rates in 10-bit with a log profile applied. You can also shoot at 1080 up to 120 frames per second, and it's worth mentioning that when recording in 4K 60, there is a 1.5 times crop applied to the frame, but when you're shooting in 4K 30, that will cover the full width of the sensor. When shooting N-Log footage on the Z50II, you can also then make use of a new range of LUTs that have been created by Red. These LUTs can also be used across the Nikon Z system range when it comes to the Z6 the Z8 and the Z9. Those red LUTs will consist of 4 creative LUTs, which are achromatic, film biased bleached, and film biased offset. And there's also a technical LUT which converts N-Log to Rec 709. You also have a switch that allows you to quickly switch between stills and video, keeping all of your still settings and your video settings separate. The Z52 is the first Z series camera to include a new product review mode. This product review mode changes how the camera's autofocusing system focuses and what it prioritizes. Traditionally, if you're using your camera to record yourself, it's going to prioritize looking for your face or your eye and maintaining focus on that point. But if you were to then hold something up in front of the camera, i.e. a product or something you're showing to the camera, the Nikon Z autofocusing system would still keep the eye or the face of the subject in focus. So when using the new product review mode like this, if I wanted to show you a new lens like this particular DX12-28, I can bring that up to the foreground, the focus shifts nicely and then shifts back to me. As you can see, as I bring the product up and then back down, the shift in focus is really smooth and you can control the speed as well, or even if you want to, choose a selectable area. So if there's an area you're placing your product in the frame, you can choose that area, or like I am here, you can rely on auto area. So wherever you bring the product into the frame, the camera automatically shifts focus. The EVF has also been greatly improved, with a brightness level that is double that of the previous Z50. The EVF brightness can be measured at 1000 candela, which is equivalent to 1000 nits. Improving the brightness of the EVF is something that Nikon's been doing across the range of cameras recently, especially with the Z8 and the Z9, and the brightest EVF you can get in the Nikon Z6 III. So having this brightness in the EVF means it's much easier to use in bright conditions, especially when shooting against the sky, for wildlife or for aircraft, or even if you're trying to photograph a person that's backlit. There are also lots of smaller changes and new options that you'll find in the Nikon Z52, and I'd just like to talk you through some of my favorites. Firstly, you'll find a new option when it comes to the RAW format that your camera shoots in. This is also to make sure that the camera is in line with other Nikon Z series cameras. There'll be 3 main RAW types you can choose from. Lossless compressed will give you the largest file size but also the best image quality. High efficiency star will give you a smaller file size and still give you really good image quality. It's not really detectable in the differences between high efficiency star and lossless compressed. And then your third option is just high efficiency. This third option will give you the smallest file size, but there will be a noticeable sacrifice in image quality. Personally, I would either choose lossless compressed or high efficiency star, but it all is going to come down to the memory card size that you're using and how important storage space and file size is to you. Not only can the new USB-C port be used to charge and continuously power the camera, you can also directly connect the camera to a computer or to a smart device via USB-C without the requirement for additional software. Previously, to use your camera as a webcam, for example, you would have to make use of Nikon's webcam utility. The Z52 does not need to use this software. This makes it perfect for anybody that wants to use this camera for streaming. The Nikon Z52 also has a conveniently usable built-in flash. This is really handy in any situation where you're low on light and you want to add a little bit of light into your shot, or in a situation where your subject might be backlit and you can mix it with other lighting. The camera is equipped with one single SD card slot, and that card slot will allow you to use up to UHS 2 speed memory cards. Because the Z52 has a Nikon Z mount, it means it can make use of any of the Z mount system lenses, whether they're full frame lenses or the specific DX lenses. That gives you lots of choice, from anything from a wide angle 24mm prime or a 12 to 28mm zoom, all the way up to the incredibly long 600mm prime or 800mm prime. So there's lots of choice and lots of flexibility to make sure you have the right lens for what you want to shoot. The Z52 has the same native ISO range as the original Z50, allowing to go from ISO 100 all the way up to 51,000, but thanks to the X-Speed 7 processor, the noise profile at high ISO has been greatly improved, giving you cleaner, more detailed images. The Z52 also starts significantly faster than its predecessor, having a start time of just a half a second, which is half the speed of the previous Z50. Alongside the Z52, Nikon's also going to release a new cabled remote. This cabled remote is a simple push and hold remote style, so it can replicate a shutter button by just pressing and taking an image, but it can also be used to push and hold to take continuous shots or for a long exposure. So that's the first look at the Nikon Z50II. It's really all down to that X-Speed 7 processor that gives you improved autofocus and noise performance, and also gives you access to new features and new customization options, meaning that the Z50II is a compact, lightweight camera, but really packs all of the features from the higher end cameras in the Nikon Z series range.